What are the benefits of investing in Africa as a diasporan that is based in Europe, in North America, in Asia, wherever you are that is outside of the African continent? Africa's economy is still largely untouched. High market demand and untapped sectors. Guys, Africa's markets are largely unserviced or untapped, except for the MNCs or the MNOs that now just have legacy operations in Africa. Most of the economies in Africa are largely unserved and untapped. Let's get into it. We have untapped sectors like agriculture, science and technology, healthcare, tourism, even mining. And as a diasporan, as an African diasporan that is based wherever you are, you can carve out a niche for yourself in all these untapped sectors and many more, by the way, and we can make millions of dollars. Let's just take, for example, tourism. Most people in these developed countries do not even know what African countries look like. They still believe Africa is one country. They don't even know we have 54 countries. They do not know what we have to offer as Africans in terms of tourism. We do know of a couple of destinations, but that's not all there is to Africa. Obviously, the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe ranks high up there. We've got the mountains, the Table Mountain in Cape Town. We've got the Serengeti in Tanzania or Kenya. Guys, that's not all there is to it. There is so much more that Africa has to offer, and you as a diasporan, it's your job, it's your duty to carve out a niche for yourself in the tourism sector. For example, rural Airbnb experiences are becoming more of a reality, more of a thing. The UN in itself has since talked about the rural Airbnbs as the future, and so what are you waiting for? Obviously, in Africa, we are still very much in touch with how we used to live in the rural areas. I mean, some of us are first generation migrants from the rural to urban migration, and we all know too well what the experience is. So why are we not investing in that? We talk about energy. Africa in itself as a continent is facing an energy crisis. We do not have enough electricity in our own countries. I know that people will talk about we're not putting enough infrastructure, or we're not putting enough infrastructure. Guys, it's not about the infrastructure, it's about the supply in itself. So those people that have alternative sources of energy like solar energy, this is your chance. We've got the population to sustain the numbers. We've got the population that will buy. The market is already there. Africa in itself generally is a sunny continent. We've got perfect weather conditions for you to get into this kind of business. Those are some of the examples of the untapped sectors. Even in agriculture, we are still very far from doing what is called precision farming. Of course, there are a few countries that are starting to do so, but largely it is very much untapped, and this is a niche that you have out for yourself. Precision agriculture in whatever sector. In horticulture, it can be in floriculture, but we do not have precision farming in Africa. Growing real estate opportunities. Guys, Africa's population is at an all-time high and it's still booming. Africa has the youngest population in the world. What does this mean for you? It means that they are reproducing at an unprecedented rate. Okay, that means that the houses that are in urban areas are not sufficient for many populations in different countries. Housing crisis is not only just for the developed countries. In my own country, in Zimbabwe, in urban areas, the houses are not enough. There is a housing deficit. So those people that are in the diaspora that have access to the funds can invest in real estate opportunities and with great returns. There are countries like my own country, like Zimbabwe, where you will get your returns in US dollars, which prevents the loss of value. However, there are also countries where you can use your US dollars or your euros or your pounds to invest at a cheaper price or at a cheaper rate. For example, in South Africa, the South African rand is much weaker than the US dollar, the pound, or the euro. That means you are able to easily buy a property. That means that as a diasporan, you are able to invest in the South African real estate because you can afford. Even the Zambian kwacha is much weaker. It's pretty much like the South African rand. It's much weaker than the US or the pound or the euro. It means you are able to buy properties, or you're able to buy land at a cheaper price, and then you develop the land, you sell it at a premium price. We all know that houses are expensive, and it can be residential, commercial, industrial. All these are sectors that are largely untamed or untapped, and that are just waiting for investors that are serious and that know the value of unlocking that potential. There are favorable investment policies that have been put forward by many different African countries just to cater for that diaspora money to come in. Guys, I'll give you an example. In Zimbabwe and in also most African countries, you are allowed to bring in your machinery, like for example for agriculture or for industrial production, duty free. This is a huge incentive. That means that all you have to cater for are certain taxes, and the taxes do not exceed anything above 20%. Now, if you do not view this as an incentive, then I don't know what you would view as an incentive. This is because you'll be able to import your machinery at a reduced cost, saving you the much needed money, and then you can invest in other infrastructure that you need to set up your business. I'll give you an example. For example, if you are in Zimbabwe and you want to start your farming business, and perhaps you need tractors, you need mine harvesters, you need any kind of machinery that is going to aid you in your agriculture business, it is duty free when you import it. What this means for you is that you get the much needed break financially, and then the money that you were supposed to use as duty, as duty tariff, you are going to invest it elsewhere. Even if you want to get into the transport sector, buses do not pay duty, they pay taxes, okay? And this is very, very important for people to know and to understand, so that you choose the sectors that you go into wisely. In some countries, there are also tax breaks. I know there are certain countries give you tax breaks, access to highly skilled workforce. Guys, Africans are educated people. There are very few African countries that do not promote education, and I actually do not know of them. So this is the thing, guys. If you want to set up a business in any African country, you will have access to highly skilled personnel. And the beauty of it is that they are knowledgeable, but you don't have to pay them a lot, because the salary comparisons by region and by continent, they are relatively lower than those salaries that you're expected to pay when you're elsewhere in these developed countries. For example, let's say you have an engineering firm. You cannot expect to hire engineers for a song if you are in America, if you are in the Great Britain, or if you are in the Western world. But if you are in Africa, I'm not saying that they get paid peanuts, but I'm saying that they get paid at a lower rate, which allows your company to stretch that extra dollar further. The labor market is also very much underutilized. So what you can do is you can bring in your expertise from the diaspora, utilize the underutilized workforce in your favor, and set up your business. They are young, they are professional, they are ambitious, and they are ready to go. Currency arbitrage. Guys, this I've seen with my own eyes in Zimbabwe. Any country that allows you to use the US dollar alongside its own currency, there is guaranteed currency arbitrage. And I've seen that in Zimbabwe. As a diasporan, you will be able to take advantage of the currency exchange rates in your favor, because you are bringing in a stronger currency that is going to be used alongside a weaker currency. That gives you an advantage that your dollars or your euros, your pounds, they will go an extra leg. What this also means is that it increases your net profits. Africa's climate and fertile lands make it very, very attractive for agro-based businesses or for agriculture type of business. Africa largely has vast tracts of land that have been untouched, that haven't been used for anything, and they are very lucrative if you want to go into agriculture. And what this means is that you have the chance to go into agriculture in whatever country you may choose. It may be your home country, and farm for export. This means that you are using resources at a much reasonable rate or reasonable cost, and then exporting and getting a stronger currency that will allow you to build your business or to build that empire in Africa at a cheaper price. Guys, the lands are available, and you can go into commercial farming, horticulture, or agri-based business industries where you add value to that farm produce that is coming in from other farms. You don't necessarily have to be a farmer yourself. You can just set up, for example, a corn meal production center where you get your supplies from other farmers, you mill that produce, and you produce corn meal. This is just one example. Investment in renewable energy. This is a huge gap for investors that have serious money and also want to make serious money returns. Guys, there is a power shortage in Africa as a continent. Okay, my own country, load shedding is at an all-time high. Even in countries that have historically never had power shortages like South Africa, they are experiencing load shedding. Nigeria, I don't even want to talk about that. So guys, there is a growing demand for electricity right now, which is where those that want to invest in renewable energy, I mean, we have the population that is in dire need of electricity. They're in dire need of energy. We've got schools, we've got hospitals, we've got residential areas, we've got industrial areas, and people seriously need a solution soon rather than later. So those investors that are in the diaspora of African descent that have the money and access to funding, guys, this is the opportunity that you need to take advantage of. There is no way you are making losses as long as you do your due diligence and you do your research. The market is there, the market is waiting, and they have the money to pay you for the service or for the goods. Patriotism and social impact. Beyond the financial gains, there is also the other side of investing in Africa as a whole. You are creating jobs, and we all know that our continent needs those jobs. We are in dire need of jobs. We have the youngest population, the fastest growing population, which means that shortage of jobs is a critical issue at this point, and this is the reason why most young people are fleeing from the continent to try and look for greener pastures. You investing in your home countries, you are creating jobs, which in turn a positive effect or a positive impact on the local economy.